According to a study on the sleep habits of 400,000 Taiwanese adults, the risk of coronary heart disease is about the same in people who sleep less than 4 hours a night as it is in those who sleep more than 8 hours a night. Subjects who underslept had a 35% higher risk of heart disease, and people who overslept had a 34% increase. Another study, published in 2009, followed 276 subjects for 6 years and found that people who slept either less than 7 hours or more than 8 hours were at least twice as likely to develop type 2 diabetes or trouble tolerating glucose. And there's more! A 2013 study of about 54,000 adults over the age of 44 found links between too much sleep and increased rates of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, stroke, and mental health issues. In fact, the rates of coronary heart disease, diabetes, and stroke were even higher in people who overslept than in those who slept too little. So the links are there. Sleep correlates with all kinds of health problems. But it's hard to say whether too much sleep actually causes these issues. It's totally possible that oversleeping is actually a symptom of things like depression or heart disease, or that there's some other connection. Either way, consistently sleeping too much might be a bad sign.
Birds can be very impressive at imitation, which is another word for copying. When chicks are born, they hear sounds made by the other birds in their flock or their family, and they practice imitating those sounds until they sound just like the rest of their flock. There are lots of reasons that birds might need to know the sounds that other animals make. For one thing, birds in the wild are very social. They help out other members of their flock. The calls of different flocks of birds, even two different flocks of the same kind of bird, are all different from each other. It helps them to know who their family is by the familiar sounds they make. Some birds can even learn other animal calls that might scare away predators, so the birds don't get eaten. And being good at imitating shows that a bird is smart and has a good memory and strong muscles, which makes it more appealing to other birds in its flock. The birds that can copy human speech are especially talented imitators. Birds that learn to imitate humans come from two groups: parrots like African greys, cockatoos, and parakeets, and songbirds like minus, starlings, and even crows. They're such good imitators that sometimes they can even fool people. Some pet birds have escaped into the wild and taught the calls they learned from humans to the other birds in their new flock. So sometimes people have gone for a nature walk and heard someone calling out. They looked around for a person only to realize that the birds were the ones talking.
Rising temperatures in seas, massive droughts, changing landscapes. Successfully adapting to climate change is growing increasingly important. For humans, this means using our technological advancement to find solutions, like smarter cities and better water management. But for some plants and animals, adapting to these global changes involves the most ancient solution of all: evolution. Evolutionary adaptation usually occurs along timescales of thousands to hundreds of thousands of years. But in cases where species are under especially strong selective conditions, like those caused by rapidly changing climates, adaptive evolution can happen more quickly. In recent decades, we've seen many plants, animals, and insects relocating themselves and undergoing changes to their body sizes and the dates they flower or breed. But many of these are plastic or non-heritable changes to an individual's physical traits, and there are limits to how much an organism can change its own physiology to meet environmental requirements. That's why scientists are seeking examples of evolutionary changes coded in species DNA that are heritable, long-lasting, and may provide a key to their future.
The consumption of berries can enhance beneficial signaling in the brain. Plant foods are our primary source of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, but some plant foods may be better than others, as I've explained before. 1 cup of blueberries a day can improve cognition among older adults, as shown in this randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, and the same thing in kids after just a single meal of blueberries, though 2 cups may work better than 1. That single hit of berries may also improve mood. A double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover study in which kids are asked a series of questions. Are you very slightly or not at all, a little, moderately, quite a bit, or extremely interested, excited, strong, etc.? Before and after drinking the placebo, no significant change. But 2 hours after consuming about 2 cups of blueberries, their positive mood scores significantly improved. They felt more enthusiastic, alert, inspired, attentive, that kind of thing. That was in young adults, ages 18 through 21. Same thing in 7 to 10-year-old children. Some dangerous new mood-enhancing drug or Ritalin? No, blueberries, and just after a single meal. Now, blueberries can't do everything. Although a cup of berries certainly appears to improve brain function, no improvement in walking or balance was observed.
turns out that if you can find a sport and a team you like, studies show that there are all sorts of benefits that go beyond the physical and mental benefits of exercise alone. Some of the most significant are psychological benefits, both in the short and long term. Some of those come from the communal experience of being on a team. For instance, learning to trust and depend on others, to accept help, to give help, and to work together towards a common goal. In addition, commitment to a team and doing something fun can also make it easier to establish a regular habit of exercise. School sport participation has also been shown to reduce the risk of suffering from depression for up to 4 years. Meanwhile, your self-esteem and confidence can get a big boost. There are a few reasons for that. One is found in training. Just by working and working at skills, especially with a good coach, you reinforce a growth mindset within yourself. That's when you say, even if I can't do something today, I can improve myself through practice and achieve it eventually. That mindset is useful in all walks of life. And then there's learning through failure, one of the most transformative long-term benefits of playing sports. The experience of coming to terms with defeat can build the resilience and self-awareness necessary to manage academic, social, and physical hurdles.
How can sleep deprivation cause such immense suffering? Scientists think the answer lies with the accumulation of waste products in the brain. During our waking hours, our cells are busy using up our day's energy sources, which get broken down into various byproducts, including adenosine. As adenosine builds up, it increases the urge to sleep, also known as sleep pressure. In fact, caffeine works by blocking adenosine's receptor pathways. Other waste products also build up in the brain, and if they're not cleared away, they collectively overload the brain and are thought to lead to the many negative symptoms of sleep deprivation. So what's happening in our brain when we sleep to prevent this? Scientists found something called the glymphatic system, a cleanup mechanism that removes this buildup and is much more active when we're asleep. It works by using cerebrospinal fluid to flush away toxic byproducts that accumulate between cells. Lymphatic vessels, which serve as pathways for immune cells, have recently been discovered in the brain, and they may also play a role in clearing out the brain's daily waste products. While scientists continue exploring the restorative mechanisms behind sleep, we can be sure that slipping into slumber is a necessity if we want to maintain our health and our sanity. Steel and plastic. These two materials are essential to so much of our infrastructure and technology, and they have a complementary set of strengths and weaknesses. Steel is strong and hard, but difficult to shape intricately. While plastic can take on just about any form, it's weak and soft. So wouldn't it be nice if there were one material as strong as the strongest steel and as shapeable as plastic? Well, a lot of scientists and technologists are getting excited about a relatively recent invention called metallic glass with both of those properties and more. Metallic glasses look shiny and opaque, like metals. And also like metals, they conduct heat and electricity. But they're way stronger than most metals, which means they can withstand a lot of force without getting bent or dented, making ultra-sharp scalpels and ultra-strong electronics cases, hinges, screws, the list goes on. Metallic glasses also have an incredible ability to store and release elastic energy, which makes them perfect for sports equipment like tennis rackets, golf clubs, and skis. They're resistant to corrosion and can be cast into complex shapes with mirror-like surfaces in a single molding step. Despite their strength at room temperature, if you go up a few hundred degrees Celsius, they soften significantly and can be deformed into any shape you like. Cool them back down, and they regain the strength.
There is a lot of water on Mars, and there once was a lot of surface flowing water. You don't see it because most of it is mixed with the soil, which we call regolith on Mars. So the Martian soil can be anywhere from as little as 1% in some very dry, deserty-like areas to as much as 60% water. One strategy for getting water when you're on Mars is to break up the regolith, which would take something like a jackhammer because it's very cold, it's very frozen. If you can imagine making a frozen brick or a chunk of ice that's mostly soil and maybe half water and half soil, that's what you would be dealing with. So you need to break this up, put it in an oven. As it heats up, it turns to steam, you run it through a distillation tube, and you have pure drinking water comes out the other end. There is a much easier way to get water on Mars. In this country, we have developed industrial dehumidifiers, they're very simple machines that simply blow the air in a room or a building across a mineral called zeolite. Zeolite is very common on Earth, it's very common on Mars. And zeolite is kind of like a sponge. It absorbs water like crazy, takes the humidity right out of the air. Then you squeeze it, and out comes the water.
Language is an essential part of our lives that we often take for granted. With it, we can communicate our thoughts and feelings, lose ourselves in novels, send text messages, and greet friends. It's hard to imagine being unable to turn thoughts into words. But if the delicate web of language networks in your brain became disrupted by stroke, illness, or trauma, you could find yourself truly at a loss for words. This disorder, called aphasia, can impair all aspects of communication. People who have aphasia remain as intelligent as ever. They know what they want to say, but can't always get their words to come out correctly. They may unintentionally use substitutions called paraphasias, switching related words like saying dog for cat, or words that sound similar, such as house for horse. Sometimes their words may even be unrecognizable.
The primary obstacle to good thinking is not a cramped desk or an uninteresting horizon. It is, first and foremost, anxiety. Often, the most profound thoughts we need to grapple with have a potentially disturbing character. As these potential implications start to come vaguely into view, our inner sensor, motivated by desire for calm rather than growth, gets alarmed. The vigilant part of the self gets agitated. It distracts us, it makes us feel tired, or gives us a strong need to go online. Skillfully, it confuses and muddles our train of thought. It blocks the progress we were starting to make towards ideas that, though important and interesting, also presented marked threats to short-term inner peace. It's in this context that the shower emerges as so helpful to the way our minds work, and earns the right to be honoured as one of the best places on earth in which to do any kind of serious reflection. Amidst the crashing water and the steam, and with a few minutes of respite before the day starts, the mind is no longer on guard. We're not supposed to be doing much inside our heads. We're mainly occupied with trying to soap ourselves and properly rinse our hair. The ideas that have been half-forming at the back of our minds, ideas about what the true purpose of our lives might be and what we should do next, keep up their steady inward pressure. But now there's a lot less to stop them reaching full consciousness. We're not meant to be thinking. And so, at last, we can think freely and courageously.